Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 81 of our WWE 2021 Save and TEW 2020. This is Armageddon, and this is our Raw branded pay-per-view for December. And I don't know if you guys if you saw the preview, you looked in the comments. I replied to Ben's comments. He always leaves the great predictions, as many of you guys do. But one thing I did say was, in all honesty, it took me a while to book this pay-per-view because even as someone who just did the How I Book My Storylines video and talked about how long-term pretty much everything is, like, this was a pay-per-view card that I set up with several different directions as possibilities because, honestly, I wasn't exactly sure which way I was going to go. So I built in several options for a lot of the programs, not every program on this card or storyline, but I built in some different options that would make sense if I went with option A, option B, whatever, just based on past shows. But, of course, you wouldn't know that until we actually got further in the story. But I don't know. For some reason, it was just, this was a very big show. And this is going to be a very important show now because it's going to set in motion some storylines that are going to play out over a span of months moving forward. So I will say that up front. This was a show that, believe it or not, probably the most difficult pay-per-view I've booked thus far. But it is one that, again, the decisions that are made here and what we've decided to go with is going to set in motion some big stuff over the next several months and honestly, even 6 months plus. So here we go. Let's hope that we take the right direction here on this and you guys enjoy it. But we start with the pre-show. Sheamus gets the win over Dijak, 748-62 here for this one. You know, Sheamus back to the pre-show. He's been involved with all the stuff we've had going on over, the past several months. Kind of not necessarily in a team with Cesaro, but he's, kind of been aligned with him and all the stuff going on with Edge and Orton and the Bullet Club and all that. But Sheamus coming off of that loss to Finn Balor on Raw, which when you guys see the state of WWE for January, and you see what that win did for Finn Balor, you're going to be stunned. I don't know how a random win on Raw gave Finn Balor the popularity jump that you're going to see, but it is pretty incredible, to be honest with you. But Sheamus gets the win here. We do have some future plans for Sheamus, but he's kind of, it was just working to that match with Balor, and we had Balor go over, and so for now, Sheamus gets the win over Dijak here in this one, 62. All right, let's jump into the main card here. And we start off with Edge and Randy Orton, and we get sort of a glimpse into the conversation with Orton and Edge. And Orton makes it clear he's still not happy about this choice for Edge making the partner that they're going to have in this six-man street fight in our main event. And Orton just says, you could have went with a lot of other people. He's like, I wouldn't have wanted Cena. Because, Orton doesn't like Cena. Wouldn't have wanted Cena. Wouldn't have wanted Undertaker. Guys like that. But you had to pick this guy. Of all the other options out there, there's about a handful of guys that I just do not want to be teaming with. And Orton says, it just happens to be this guy. And Edge just continuing to try to reassure Orton, everything is fine. Just trust me. I know what I'm doing. This is what we need. We need to be a unit. And, Edge is kind of pushing that. We need to all be together because that's the only way we're going to be able to take down the Bullet Club here. So, the tension that really was not there for about 4 months has all of a sudden escalated pretty quickly with Edge and Randy Orton. And we'll see what happens in our main event tonight. 89 for this one. So great segment here to start things off. And then it is a backstage promo here about to lead into our opener as Pat McAfee is with the Street Profits. And, McAfee wants to know, what's your mindset, Montez Ford? We've seen this over the past several weeks since you lost, the shot at the WWE Championship. You had the title in your hands. It was taken away via, a technicality. And now you've been kind of down. And Ford just says, I'm back. Like he says, I'm focused. I'm ready to go. I needed a couple weeks, to really sort of just, get my head back on straight. He says, I'm sure there'll be a point where I'll talk about what happened in that match and sort of what I went through these past couple weeks. But he said, right now, I am focused on the Lucha Brothers because I know what's at stake here. Our shot at the Tag Team Championships at the Royal Rumble. And that gets Dawkins. Dawkins is just hyped now. He's ready. He's like, all right, I got my guy back. Montez Ford, he's back. So that is your setup leading into our number one contenders match. And here it is. You see it. The graphics. Ben is back, coming through yet again. And just some fantastic looking graphics here. This is our number one contenders match. The Street Profits versus the Lucha Brothers. The winner goes on to the Royal Rumble to take on our tag team champions, which currently held by the team of Jeff Hardy and Ricochet Enigma. That is our tag team champions. So who's going to go on to face them at the Rumble? Here we go. And in a decent match, 66, not terrible. I would have liked a little bit better. It is the Lucha Brothers getting the win over the Street Profits in 12-21. Rey Fenix gets the pin on Angelo Dawkins. Dawkins, kind of the weak link here, is a 62, but man, we keep saying this every time. But Rey Fenix, a 90 with his in-ring performance. He's just tremendous. Montez Ford's in-ring stuff has started to go up, if we've noticed that. We have seen that a lot, kind of in, recent matches and all that. Our storyline gained some heat. That's good. With 66, we did do Still the Show. I thought these were two teams that had the ratings to be able to do that. We keep Montez Ford strong here. Obviously, there's much more to come with Montez. You guys knew that, though, when we set things in motion with how he lost the title. But if we kind of look at everything here, a lot of good stuff. But, the penalties, really, the low heat, and, the storyline just didn't have a lot of oomph to it. But that's okay. But we get kind of, Penta still with that poor gimmick, which he had when I think he made his debut, and we were like, oh, boy, we're going to get saddled with this now. Dawkins' inconsistency. But otherwise, I don't think I would have expected, honestly, much better than like a 70, just kind of based on maybe where all four parties are at right now. So the Lucha Brothers get the win, and yes, they are officially set for a tag team title shot at the Royal Rumble. 66 for this one. And backstage, it is Carmella, who is with Pat McAfee once again, and she just points out, she's tired of being disrespected. She's gotten no opportunities. Every time she does, she says she goes up against one of these cheaters, like Sasha Banks and all these other people. She's tired of the disrespect, and she wants to, kind of go out and prove herself here. She wants to get back in the women's title picture, and that's her goal here. And she's going to take down Sasha Banks. So that's why she issued the challenge to Banks. That's kind of the story we're playing up here. This was a thrown together match. I needed a way to get Sasha on the card, which, let's be honest, you guys pretty much know what's going to happen in this match. But we need to get Sasha on the card because I don't want to say Sasha's in a holding pattern, but we obviously have plans for Sasha moving forward. It's just at this pay-per-view, this is just how it's set up. So that is going to lead us into our match. It is going to be Sasha Banks taking on Carmella. No need to delay the inevitable here. 53 for the segment. And now the match itself gets a 55. I did not think this would be very good. But, Carmella's off her game. That doesn't help. We did make this 12 minutes because, again, from just a match standpoint, balancing it with, you guys know I like to add some angles for some of the bigger matches to kind of play them out before you see the actual result. But, this was one where you have to take what you get with it. I mean, it's a 55, but this was really just getting Sasha Banks a win on pay-per-view, and really nothing more than that. Because, again, Sasha has got some stuff that you will see play out, moving forward. And this was just kind of a setup where I wanted to get her on the pay-per-view. We just didn't have, that top story for her to be put into, given, more of that focus is going to be on Bayley and Rhea Ripley, since, that's kind of where things stand on that. So Sasha gets the win, and that's that. And then it is a promo from Kevin Owens, and we've got a big United States Championship match, as we know. This gets a 70, and it is Owens saying, basically hyping up Johnny Gargano here, knowing that he's going to present a big challenge. But Owens says, you know what? I know he's going to present a challenge, but I've faced all comers thus far. I've faced a lot of people who have presented challenges, to this point. No matter who it's been, I've always been able to step up and find a way to keep my title, whether it was Sheamus, whether it was AJ Styles, whether it was Goldberg, all these other people. Like he says, I've beaten everybody that's come my way. And Owens says, I understand who I'm going up against. Johnny Gargano, the ultimate underdog here. He has nothing to lose. But I'm the champion, and I've proven why I'm the champion time and time again. And so Owens just really playing this up. He is going to retain his championship, and that is his goal here. So Kevin Owens, a 70 for the promo, and that is going to lead us into a huge match here. Johnny Gargano challenging Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. I think this one will do well. And let's get into it, because this is one that I'm really looking forward to. Kevin Owens, Johnny Gargano, United States Championship. And an angle here to kind of let you know how the match plays out. It gets a 66, but this match goes deep into our time limit for this particular one, and it is Johnny Gargano late with about a minute to go in our time limit. Johnny Gargano using a furious rally to get the upper hand. He's got the crowd behind him, again playing up the ultimate underdog here, going up against what's been a very dominant champion, one of our most dominant champions in our save. Gargano finally gets the upper hand. He's going for that rally. He knows the time is ticking. We're down to 30 seconds. He's got to be able to finish him off. But then, out of desperation, Kevin Owens counters and hits his finisher with no other choice, because all it was going to take was one more wrong move, and Gargano was going to pin Owens to win the United States Championship. But it's Owens hitting the pop-up powerbomb out of desperation. And let's get our gimmick in real quick. Change gimmick here. Very good. Gargano is the underdog. That's what we're using. But Owens hits his finisher. 1, 2, and somehow Johnny Gargano kicks out at 2.99 as the referee calls for the bell, and that takes us to a time limit draw at 30 minutes. Kevin Owens and Johnny Gargano, there is no winner. They fight to a draw. Gargano somehow takes Owens to the limit here. He even somehow, when Owens, you think, has finally got it at the last second, hits the pop-up powerbomb. Gargano manages to get his shoulder up at 2.99 and does not lose. And these two go to the time limit draw, 77. Obviously, if you're wanting to learn something from this, there's no way this match is going to, do a 90-something if it's 30 minutes, just based on how we booked it. If we would have did this as a 15-minute match, that kind of thing, this would have probably did in the 80s somewhere, I have no doubt. But we still get a 77 out of a 30-minute time limit draw between these two. Owens gets an 88. Gargano gets a 63. You kind of look at everything we did here. We did keep Johnny Gargano strong, obviously, with how we did the finish. We did the draw, the time limit. We keep Owens strong, too. That's kind of everything in play here. If you want to look at some of the notes and how this played out, really the only thing was just inconsistency. Obviously, we get penalized every time if we have face versus face, heel versus heel. I hate that about this product, honestly, because, I like doing the combination of that. I mean, look at our main event, right? Like, we have several on this show, actually, that are combinations of face versus face, but really, we don't do heel versus heel often. We just had all this stuff going on with Styles, the Bullet Club and Edge and Orton, but this was one that, it was ambitious to make this a 30-minute time limit draw, but obviously this is another match where if we actually see it play out visually and it's not just reading it, on a screen, there's a way to make it a lot more entertaining. So I tried to do the best I could with this, but the thought here is that Gargano takes Owens to the limit and just almost gets beat right before the time limit, but yet he doesn't. He would not get beat. He gets that shoulder up. And, that's how it finishes. So a 77, I'm perfectly pleased with that, knowing that it went 30 minutes, our longest match in our series thus far. We did take this, as long as it would go. But these two had great stamina ratings, and we didn't get knocked for it, as you saw, because I looked at it, I was like, all right, if there's any two guys that can take us this far, these two can certainly do it. So they did, 77. After the match, Kevin Owens goes over and realizes, he has escaped with this United States Championship. He goes over, helps up Johnny Gargano. The crowd is going crazy. They're giving him a standing ovation here. And then Owens kind of pulls Gargano in, and we see Owens whisper something to him. We don't know what it is, but Owens whispers something to him, gives him a pat on the back, and then walks off with his United States Championship. So this gets a 74-2. These two deliver here on this one. So, there's all I'll say is there's more to come on this. But you can tell that the excitement in my voice, there's I know what's coming, and I'm just very excited about it. So 74 here for this one. So that's how things play out with Owens and Gargano here at Armageddon. And then the promo you've all been waiting for. We haven't heard from her since she took the spear from Roman Reigns at the Mae Young Classic. A shocking ending to night 2 of the Mae Young Classic. And it is a special sit-down interview with Michael Cole and Becky Lynch. Cole underwhelming here, but it doesn't matter. We get an 88 because Becky is over as can be. And you'll see that when you look at the ratings in our State of WWE for January. But it's pretty simple. Michael Cole wants to know, what is your mindset out of this? You just out of nowhere, you get attacked by Roman Reigns. Everyone wants to know how you're doing. They want an update. What's your mindset? And Becky, you can tell she's a little hesitant to start here because it's almost like she doesn't really know what to say. But she says, well, for starters, I want to point out that what happened on SmackDown, which, as we saw on SmackDown, that was where Reigns sort of teased that he had maybe done something again to Becky Lynch. That sent Rollins chasing away, and, that sort of saved Heyman from the beatdown, that it was clear that Rollins was going to, give Heyman a beatdown, but sort of saved it. Becky says, I haven't seen Roman Reigns since that happened. He's been nowhere near me. She says, I'm fine. But she says, now I realize, just how low he will go to, do what he thinks he needs to do against what everyone knows is my husband. But Becky says, I'm going to leave that to my husband because I trust and am fully confident that he is going to annihilate and destroy Roman Reigns once and for all. But Becky says, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And even though I came up short in the finals of the Mae Young Classic against Rhea Ripley, she said, everything, that loss to Rhea Ripley, the attack from Roman Reigns, it has done nothing but infuriate and ignite me. And that's when she says, so I am sitting here right now telling you that for all of you who sat there and thought that Becky Lynch was just, Becky Lynch and Roman Reigns just comes out and attacks me, and now I'm this vulnerable, woman who's just out here trying to stay away from Roman Reigns. No. Becky Lynch says, what I am is very clear. And she says, if anyone thought that anything had happened, to me and all of a sudden I was going to go in reverse and be scared and all this other stuff, no. She says, because I want to remind everyone, I'm the man. And everyone out there, Roman Reigns, anyone else who wants to come at me, like, the man will come around and, I will take care of business. And that's when she says, and it's all going to start at the Royal Rumble because I'm going to officially enter myself into the Rumble right now. And that's when Becky just, throws down her microphone and walks off the set. And so Becky with a pretty passionate promo here. So Becky Lynch has officially entered the Royal Rumble, it seems. Yes, we'll have a lot more to come with Becky. But there's sort of the follow-up with what happened with Roman Reigns. Gets an 88, great stuff. And we will see Becky making her return on Raw. All right, and that's going to get us ready for our Women's Tag Team Championship match. Pat McAfee, yet again. He's here with our champions. And Pat just laying it on thick here, talking about the pressure that BASZLER and DEVILLE must feel heading into this match, knowing that if they lose, they are stuck on Raw while Paige and Mandy Rose are on SmackDown, and Mandy's going to be all by herself. And Pat really playing it up here. You can tell DEVILLE and BASZLER are getting annoyed by all of this. They don't like being in this setting, and that's when they say, this has pretty much pissed us off. Steve Austin putting us in this match, putting us in this spot, trading Mandy Rose to SmackDown. They said, we're pissed. And that means nothing good for our opponents tonight. Toni Storm, Liv Morgan, we're going to come out and do exactly what we did to you at Unforgiven several months ago. We're going to beat you down, and we're going to walk out with our tag team champions, and then we're going to walk right to SmackDown and make sure that Paige gets what she has coming to her. So our champions feeling pretty confident heading into this match. Will they be able to retain the titles? Here we go. It is all set up. Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler, our women's tag team champions, are long-running champs at this point. Another opportunity here for the Rebels. Toni Storm and Liv Morgan. Can they finally take down this dominant duo of BASZLER and DEVILLE? And will that mean bad things for Mandy Rose on SmackDown? Here we go. Our Women's Tag Team Championship match. And in a solid match here, 62, they do it again. Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler find a way to retain their championships. Sonya gets the pin on Liv with a quick cradle. So we did do the flash pinfall here, to kind of save a little bit for the Rebels. And that is defense number 3 now for our tag team champions on the women's side. Liv struggles with a 46. And I'm going to be honest with you. This was a match I went back and forth on. And I'm going to be clear because there's several of these on this show we'll talk about. But this was one where the more I looked at it, I would love to push Liv Morgan more. Obviously it's happening in reality, and I'd love to push this team more. But it just from a story perspective, like it was just something that I felt like we needed to be able to keep the titles on Baszler and DeVille and to keep them kind of engaged with things on SmackDown. There was the thought that, and I'm just going to I don't even know if I've said it like this before to you guys as I've done this, but there was the thought of doing the change here and having the Rebels win the title and sort of keep Baszler and DeVille on Raw for about a month, do the third match, so do the rubber match between these two at the Royal Rumble, and then kind of give it a month of sort of that build-up of having Paige and Mandy Rose by herself for a month, basically trying to avoid Paige for a month, hoping that the champions the previous champions would be able to retain their titles. I just didn't decide to go that route. I just thought, because of what we're doing with Baszler and DeVille, I just thought it made more sense to keep the titles on them for now. And honestly, like, it's something too where like Liv's popularity is not great. Her overall ratings are not great necessarily. Again, I have nothing against Liv Morgan. It's one of those things where like when I looked at it, I don't know. This was a tough call, but I just decided to keep the belts on the champions because there is something I have in mind for them now that they are going to be able to go back to SmackDown as the champs and not be, staying on Raw. But it's just one where, I just didn't feel like it was right to make the switch because I don't think the Rebels have been, and look, I'm the one booking this. I'm just being completely open on this. Like this is, I struggle with these things sometimes, trying to figure out which way to go, but we don't have a deep tag team division on the women's side, and we tried to change that. This was one of the reasons, we put them as a team, but I don't know. Something's still just not, we haven't necessarily had a position to be able to push them, I think, to the level of being the champions. So that's just my own thing. But I don't know. This may be one I look back on and I'm like, man, I wish I would have won the other direction. 62 for this one. I know that was a long spill about this women's tag team match, but I do just want to, I want to be full disclosure. Like I thought long and hard about this one. This was one of the matches that I really struggled to figure out which direction I wanted to go in, but yeah, I just decided to keep it on the champs. So 62 for these two here. All right, and now we are set up for another match that I'll talk about in a second. Talk about another match I spent hours trying to figure out which direction I want to go here. The video package, looking at the tail of the tape for our triple threat match for the number one contendership. Winner goes on to face Edge for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. Big E, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, 3 of the hottest stars in the company right now in terms of just their momentum, everything they have going for them. 3 baby faces, just 3 top guys. 69 overall. I didn't do well because, we probably put this, I don't know what we rated this on, but it was also very short because time-wise, we had to get some of these angles down. We had to cut them down a little bit. But this is your setup. These 3 guys are going to compete for the number one contendership, and it is official. Number one contendership on the line here. WWE Championship. Who will it be? Big E, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan. Who's going to go on to face Edge for the WWE Championship? I'm asking you guys, like who should it be? I'm just kidding. Boy, I thought about this one a long time. But here we go. Let's jump in to the match, and it is Angle here, 85. Cesaro, we get to the finish. Cesaro hitting the big uppercut on Big E. Big E is down. Cesaro's got all the momentum. But then it is Cesaro turning around. And here comes Daniel Bryan, who was down and out. It was Cesaro and Big E in the ring. Bryan had been out. But Bryan has now slid into the ring. And Bryan comes right at Cesaro with the running knee. And he hits it hard. And that is when Bryan pins Cesaro. And 85 here for this one. An 84 match. So this delivered just like I thought it would. I told you guys I thought it may be our best match ever. I thought it could hit close to 89, but it gets an 84. I'm not going to be complaining about that. It is Daniel Bryan getting the win over Big E and Cesaro. 13-40. Bryan gets the pin on Cesaro. Of course, this is just a finish. We forgot to add just the pinfall finish is one of the notes, so it did the submission. But obviously, you guys can ignore that. You just saw the finish on the previous segment. But it is Bryan getting the win. Look at his in-ring performance, 93. Absolutely incredible. Far and away our best performer. Although, as we said, Ray Phoenix pretty close at a 90. 93 here for this one. How we booked it, we did do still to show. We want these guys to go all out. That's why we made it a little shorter, knowing that if it would have been longer, you would have got the stamina stuff, all that. So that's why this really delivered still at an 84. One of our better matches still to this point in the series. So this was really great. We did have Big E kept strong because obviously Big E does not take the pin here. And, that's kind of your setup. But, for all the stuff I said about the women's tag team title direction, I mean, I did. And this is what I also said. It's one of the things. Whether you noticed it or not, I had set in there were three things that I set in motion that would have pushed this storyline forward depending on who I would have picked to win this match. Because I was going back and forth for a while here. And I just, there are multiple stories that I want to tell, but we can delay some of them. But there was just a situation where I was like, man, I kept changing my mind between all three of these guys. And I know probably the thought was that this was going to be Bryan or Big E, but there was a story that I had kind of built in that probably wasn't that much noticeable, but it's been built in over the past couple months. That if we had to go with Cesaro here, which I almost did, there was a situation where I was just like, maybe we go Cesaro. But then I started really studying the options. And I think for the long-term stories that we're going to tell, Bryan was the best winner here. And that's why ultimately I decided to go with Daniel Bryan. Even though, again, I think all three would have been good options. And there were story portions, little plot points that I had built in, maybe kind of under the radar a little bit, that would have made this work moving forward no matter who I choose to win this match. But we go with Bryan, and it gets an 84. And now Daniel Bryan seemingly has his opportunity for that one-on-one match that he has been denied ever since SummerSlam when Edge stole the title from him. Bryan seems like he's finally going to get that one-on-one match with Edge for the WWE Championship. So, there you go. Daniel Bryan, officially your number one contender. And then, speaking of championships, here comes Rhea Ripley. And, of course, we're all getting excited, knowing that seems like everything's set. Rhea Ripley's going to challenge for the women's title here on Raw. Her big prize, she said she wanted at the Mae Young Classic. She won the tournament, and now this was going to be her prize. And she comes out for the championship, and the crowd's going wild, knowing that this is it. Rhea Ripley finally going to get her hands on Bayley, gets a 74. Bayley's music hits, and our women's champion comes out, and she is not dressed to defend her championship. And that is not going to make Rhea Ripley happy, because Bayley not dressed to defend her title. She walks down in a very cocky manner. Bayley goes over, grabs the microphone. Ripley's a little confused, like, why is she not dressed to compete? And that is when Bayley stands on the apron and holding her title, and this gets a 71. Bayley says, I'm not sure what you're doing out here. We're not wrestling tonight. You don't have a title match with me tonight. And Rhea Ripley's like, what are you talking about? Yes, I do. Like, it is. It's been booked. And Bayley's like, no, it hasn't. She's like, you maybe need to, use your brain a little bit more. Because Bayley says, I never said that I was agreeing to this championship match. And whenever Stone Cold Steve Austin back there came up to me to try to get me to agree to this match. I told him right before I came out that that wasn't going to happen because, for all of you out there, in case you remember the little news item we had recently, I signed a new contract with WWE, and Bayley said I made sure in that contract there was one specific detail in there that we are not going to ignore. And that is when Bayley reveals her big plot here, kind of pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. She said, in that contract, it says that I only have to defend my Raw Women's Championship every 30 days, and that is what I'm going to do. Because, Rhea Ripley, you came out all excited on Raw thinking that your friend Liv Morgan was going to beat me for the Raw Women's Championship, when instead I beat you by having that match and beating her for the championship. So I'm not defending my championship here. I will not defend my championship until that 30-day limit hits. So if you wanted your championship tonight, you're not going to get it, and you will have to wait a little bit longer. So Bayley just really pleased with herself here, and you can see the rage in Rhea Ripley, who is not having a lot of fun here, watching this and Bayley revealing her big master plan. And that is when Bayley just starts laughing at Rhea Ripley, hops off the apron, and goes to head to the back. You know what's happening next. Rhea Ripley is not going to stand for this. Ripley comes out of the ring, and she goes at Bayley, and now we've got these two throwing down. Rhea Ripley with rage coming at Bayley here, and that's when officials come out, break things up. So Bayley has set off Rhea Ripley. She doesn't get her championship match tonight at Armageddon. And just so everyone knows, if you watch Raw, I promise I never made this match official, and I didn't want to false advertise here. I know we kind of set that up a little bit. I don't like doing it necessarily. I don't do it often, but we did set up the idea that Bayley said, after she beat Liv Morgan, I'll see you at Armageddon, but the match was never fully made official. And that's the reason why, is because we wanted to go this route. So Bayley using the heel smarts here to kind of hold off her challenger for now. So these two, the heat is escalating between Bayley and Rhea Ripley, and we'll see what happens next with these two. So 71 here for this one. All right, and then it's Chad Gable with his new mentor, Kurt Angle. And Angle going over the lessons that he's already taught Chad Gable, telling him, you've got to start getting back to the basics. That's what Angle tells Gable. You've got to go back to the fundamentals here. You got to remember what got you this far in your career. All the success you had in NXT, all the success you've had here recently. You got to remember what got you there. And Angle's really pushing this. So he's really pumping up Gable here for the big match he's going to have. Mustafa Ali, as we said, this was a late addition to the card. But Gable's going to get a one-on-one match with Ali. He gets to 66. And as Angle's going over, kind of the finishing touches here on their plan for the match, here comes Ali. And Ali coming in, just kind of boasting, saying that Angle could not stay away from the spotlight. And he's going to beat down Kurt Angle at some point. He wants Angle to get in the ring with him. But he says, first, I'm going to beat Chad Gable. And I'm going to make both of you look silly. But Ali says, you know what, Kurt, I want you to watch. Because after I beat Gable, I want you in the ring. So Ali kind of calling a shot here, saying that he's going to beat Gable, and then he wants a match with Kurt Angle. So Ali, he's really confident here for a guy that's not exactly had a lot of luck in our series thus far. But this gets a 60, and now that's going to set us up for this match. One-on-one, Chad Gable, Mustafa Ali. We obviously know what's going on with Gable with his new mentor. Ali seemingly has his sights set on Kurt Angle, but he's got to go through Chad Gable first. Let's see how it plays out here between these two very talented workers. And in a 67 match, pretty decent here for these two, given the level of popularity. It is Gable getting the win over Ali, 13-40. Come on, he wasn't going to lose his first match under the tutelage of Kurt Angle, as Ali gets the win, 13-40. Pretty good stuff here. I mean, Ali's in-ring performances are usually pretty good. It's just storyline-wise, we've kind of pushed some of these other stories. We haven't had a lot for Ali, outside of some of the stuff we did with him for the U.S. title with Owens. But, this really makes me think a little bit. Maybe we need to get a little more engaged with Ali here as a possibility. And there is something that I have for him. It's not necessarily a huge role, but maybe we need to expand some things, just like we did with Gable, right? Like, that's kind of what we did here. But Gable gets 59. It's not great, but that's okay. These two work well together here. 67. Gable getting the win, though, as he's 1-0 with Kurt Angle. And then, backstage, Steve Austin, our Raw general manager, is on the phone. He's talking to Mick Foley because he's saying Mick's name. He's like, Mick, I've heard about this big Intercontinental Championship match you've booked for this week. He's like, have you finalized it yet? And that's when, Foley says, Austin's like, okay, well, we'll make sure you get that thing finalized because he's like, I want to see this damn match. So then he hangs up the phone. Here comes Sasha Banks. And Austin says, Sasha, I'm sure you saw, the announcement from Becky and all this about how she's in the Rumble. Well, he says, I want to make sure you know right here, right now, that you are also officially in the Women's Royal Rumble. And he says, I know you're trying to work your way back up to that Raw Women's Championship. You've said, you feel like you've got to try to change some things to get there. You know what you have to do. You beat Carmella earlier tonight. He's like, I look forward to seeing you in the Women's Royal Rumble. So Sasha, pleased at this, turn of events here. She does get a spot in the Rumble. So this gets to 74. But as they're talking backstage, they're near the entrance here to the ring. And these two just, kind of continue to talk. You can tell Sasha pretty pleased, as I said, with being announced she's in the Rumble. But here comes the main eventers who are getting ready to walk down to the ring for their main event match. And here comes AJ Styles, Adam Cole, Finn Balor, and it is the Bullet Club making their way. And they just kind of, come down the aisle here as Austin and Banks turn around. They realize, they're there. And that kind of leads to, once again, Bullet Club just staring both of them down, staring down Austin, staring down Banks. Banks walks away. That leaves Austin with these three. And it is Styles who looks at Stone Cold Steve Austin and says, I'm just going to let you know I'm about to go out here and I'm going to end Rated RKO once and for all. So Styles tells Austin, you better start looking for a new WWE champion because your current champion may not be able to wrestle after tonight. So Styles very confident about the Bullet Club leading into our main event. This gets a 90. Great segment here. These three are we're starting to see this. Like, segments with these three are starting to go up, and that's good to know because their ratings are growing. I kind of teased the Balor stuff earlier. When you see his ratings, it's going to be incredible. But, these three are starting to – the segments are starting – it took a little while because, as I said, when we called these two up, Cole and Balor, and, it's just something where their ratings were not great. I mean, they were in the 50s popularity-wise, but – as you'll see, that has changed significantly. That has. We'll look at that soon. But here we go. So Styles, very excited. 90 for this one. And that is going to lead us into our main event for this show. I will tell you, I don't think this is going to be rated as well as that triple threat match. I kind of went back and forth on what I wanted to do as the main event. If I did the triple threat match, obviously the show would get a better rating. But to me, this is still the main event. We've been building this big match up for a while. So we did put this six-man tag, the street fight, in this slot, and it is going to be the Bullet Club taking on Edge, Randy Orton, and the big mystery partner. Who is it going to be? Here we go. And out to the ring, the Bullet Club have come out. Here comes Edge and Randy Orton. You can still see Orton. He's just shaking his head as he comes out, and he's really looking away from Edge here. He's not even really acknowledging Edge making this announcement. And Edge again explains, I understand, that everyone's been talking about all the speculation, the rumors about who this could be. And he says, once again, just like I told Randy earlier tonight, just like I've told him time and time again, this is about unity. It's about unity. It's about trust. We have to be able to be more of a unit than the Bullet Club, because he says these three guys are ego hungry. These guys are all just out for themselves. They're not a unit. They're just all out for themselves, which is kind of funny when you think about how Edge and Orton have acted. But that is when Edge says, to be able to be, the perfect team, I need to be able to trust my teammates. He says, I trust Randy Orton. And then Edge says, the only other person I trust as much in the world as Randy Orton. 87 for this one. And it is It is Christian. Yes, you guys guessed it. This was not really, a huge mystery, I think. We pretty much set this in motion from the start that if you connected all the dots, you understood, when we started adding in the layers of Orton's not happy with this, we kept pushing that Orton was just pissed off about this choice. Well, if you think about the history between Randy Orton and Christian, there's your reason why Orton has not been very happy about this choice of partners here. And so here comes Christian. Edge is very happy. He's hugging his friend Christian here, his best friend in the world. And Edge, just kind of between Randy Orton and Christian, that's when Christian and Orton just kind of have a pretty intense stare down here. And then these three walk to the ring to get ready for our main event. Captain Charisma gets a great gimmick change here. So that is very good to know. But Christian will join Edge. He is back here. And yes, if you're wondering how he got here, he was a free agent when we started. Or no, wait a minute. He wasn't a free agent. His contract with AEW very early in this game somehow came up, which again, if you really think about it, it probably should have been longer, but we take advantage of what the game gives us. And his contract was up pretty early, so we signed him months ago. And this was just a spot that I kind of penciled in. All right, this is where we need him to kind of debut, return. So 87, great segment here. And now we get into the match, and here we go. We get to the finish. It's been a wild street fight here between these three. Beat everybody. We got weapons. We got all kinds of stuff. These guys just don't like each other, right? We work down to the finish, and it is somehow Adam Cole and Finn Balor are out with Edge. That has left AJ Styles with Randy Orton and Christian, and somehow it is a situation where all the chaos leads to Christian kind of backpedaling, and he accidentally bumps into Randy Orton while Styles is recovering in the corner. Orton has all the advantage, but Christian just kind of bumps into Orton. That leads to Orton turning around, and Orton is really thinking about it. Like, you can see him gritting his teeth here. He's like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you, why did you just bump into me? Based off of some of the action that just happened on the outside with Edge and Balor and Cole, all this other stuff, Christian bumps into Orton, and you can tell Orton is really thinking about it. He is gritting his teeth. He wants to go for the RKO here, but he thinks better of it, and that is when Christian goes over and tries to go after AJ Styles. Styles reverses it, throws Christian out of the ring, and then Orton turns into it as well as Styles gains the advantage on Orton. Styles with the Styles Clash on Randy Orton, and that is how it finishes here. A 73, like I said, I didn't think this would be great. I'll take it. I mean, I honestly probably didn't expect much better than like a 77 or 78. But AJ Styles hits the Styles Clash on Randy Orton. He pins Orton 13-41 here. Another match that I made short just to try to kind of, do steal the show, get a better rating. I think if we'd have made how much longer we would have made it, I just don't know how well it would have done. Honestly, I don't know. That's one I went back and forth on too, but I think you have to remember Edge, Styles, and Christian all have declining physical ability notes, so I don't know how much that would have impacted it, but still, nonetheless, the miscommunication between Randy Orton and Christian, the tension between these two, I know it's kind of predictable, but, it makes sense. So we went with that. That's your finish here. Styles and the Bullet Club, victorious as in our main event. Look at our in-ring performances. Edge with an 86 still, so he's still he's coming through for us. Orton gets an 80, even though he does have the declining physical ability. We'll look at that here. But, I still think it's a situation where, you see all this here. I mean, Edge, Christian, Styles all have the declining physical. We do get the odd face heel. We knew that was going to happen because we don't book that many heel versus heel matches, but this was one that we had to do just given kind of where things stand. But, so that's what we did here. Bullet Club gets the win, and we go off the air with the Bullet Club standing tall and sort of a reversal of fortune here, because as we said, we've really pushed this cohesion with Edge and Randy Orton. They've had no issues up until this whole mystery partner situation. Bullet Club standing tall, a complete unit. There's no dissension. These guys are at, their highest point now after winning the main event here on the pay-per-view, defeating the WWE champion, and, Randy Orton and Christian. And that is kind of the visual that you get. The difference now between the Bullet Club standing tall while Edge is on the outside trying to control Randy Orton and Christian and kind of keep them from going at each other. So 88 is how we finish off here for this one. That is your closing visual for Armageddon, a victorious night for the Bullet Club. And that gets us a 79 for this one. Like I said, I think if we change the choice of main event, this show gets a much higher rating, but just because our main event match gets a 73 here, that's going to take our overall rating down a little bit. So we grow in 4 regions, which is fine. I said going in, this was kind of more of a thrown-together pay-per-view than most, and it did result, like I said, in some pretty tough decisions on some of these matches and trying to figure out which way we're going to go in, especially with the women's tag team titles and that triple threat match. A lot of the other stuff, I pretty much knew what I wanted to do, but boy, I did go back and forth more than I've gone back and forth on any other show on those 2 matches, trying to figure out which direction I want to go in, but I think we'll be able to make it work in both situations. So there you go. That was Armageddon. Lots of story stuff coming out of it, and I'll tease Raw here in a second, but let's talk about who we should give some encouragement and stuff to here. How about Johnny Gargano? Praise him. He thought he did pretty well against Owens. We're going to praise him for that. Maybe AJ Styles deserves a little love here. What do you think about him, maybe? Giving him some love. And we'll give AJ Styles some great performance as well. And who else here? What about Daniel Bryan? I mean, because he did, let's be honest, Daniel Bryan is now the number 1 contender, so we will praise him for great performance. Performances, praised everywhere. Everyone's pleased, happy, all this. All right, let's see what I get to before we wrap up. All right, so Armageddon, positive show. We didn't strike gold on this one. I didn't really think we would, but I did go ahead and click on Armageddon because as we see here, boy, is our State of WWE going to be a fantastic one. It'll be our best one yet because it is a new year. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2022 here in our save, and now I'm going to have to remember to say our WWE 2022 save. I may have to start putting that into the title of these episodes because we have made it to 2022. And I can't wait to look through these. I'm not looking through them yet. In all honesty, what I'm going to do, I'm not even going to look at these until I record the next episode. So I'm going to keep this right here on that. I did see the rest of the year. I will tell you that because it automatically goes to the number 1 spot. I did see the rest of the year. But, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But I'm not going to look at the rest of them because I want to be kind of, I want to be surprised by these. So, but as for everything else on here, there is something else that I've clicked on that I am not going to reveal. It is AEW contract offer. A top AEW star has become available. And I'm not going to click on this because as of right now, I am about 95% sure I'm going to make an offer to this top AEW star. And so I don't want to get your head too far. Like, it's not Kenny Omega or anything like that. I'm just going to be honest with you. But there is a top star that is available contract-wise. 95% sure I'm gonna make the offer here because this would be a huge boost for us, and especially, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to give you any further details, but this would be a huge boost if we can sign this person. So, all right, let's look at our male. Mei Ying, her contract expiring. We'll note that. Drug test fees, and Armageddon gets 3.4 million viewers, almost 3.5 million viewers. So, a lot of people interested in Armageddon. So that is good to see. All right, there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed Armageddon. Like I said, you guys kind of gave the opinions on some of the stuff in the predictions, but I love your thoughts on the show. I wouldn't say this was our most noteworthy show, pay-per-view to date by any means, but like I said, this is going to prove to be a very significant show, one of our more significant shows probably to this point, based on all the storylines that are going to kind of unfold based on what happened on this show. That's all I'll say. But this is going to set in motion a lot of things, and honestly, up to 6 months or more, some of the matches that are going to be kind of callbacks to some of the things that is the fallout of this show. Boy, that was complicated, but I'm just being honest with you because I'm kind of excited now. Like, I'm all right. We've got this show out of the way. We are on the road to the Royal Rumble now. Oh my goodness, we're in January. WrestleMania is almost here. But there's still a lot of stuff that I'm very motivated now with some of the stories that coming out of Armageddon are going to be set in motion as we go towards WrestleMania season and beyond. So there you go. That was Armageddon. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought. Hope you, again, leave your feedback as always in the comments. And be sure to hit that subscribe button. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And on the next episode will be our State of WWE. Check out the AEW Save, the WCW 1998 ones. Those episodes will be up soon. This was kind of, as we usually do with the pay-per-view cycle, usually we just kind of go hard. Once we put our preview out, then our next video is our pay-per-view, and that's what we did here to kind of keep the momentum going for the WWE followers here on this series. But AEW, WCW, those ones will be coming out soon. And part 2 of the How I Book Storylines, going to put that out. And there was also a request for someone wanted me to just do kind of a quick video on how to install a mod in TEW. So I may put that together. I'll try to put that together pretty quickly. So anyone else who has any issues, you can check that out too. But as always, I appreciate you guys so much. The interaction has been just awesome. And I mean, my goodness, there's just so many people out there, nice things to say about the series, all of them. And so I really do appreciate it. I enjoy the discussion, the interaction. So keep it coming. And on the next episode of our WWE series, our WWE 2022 series, it will be the State of WWE for January 2022.